Episode 15, East Street by Amber Street. The Admission. Jack looked at Lenny and walked over to the bench slowly. He looked down at Lenny. "Sit," Lenny said as a command. Jack was angry at himself for not doing a better job with his cover, and angry at Lenny for treating him like a rat. He sat down about a foot away from Lenny and looked at him. "Are you a cop?" Lenny asked. Jack shook his head and said no. Lenny smiled. He kept his eye on Jack. He purposely waited for a few moments before he asked him his next question. "Are you a Fed?" Lenny asked as he watched Jack's expression change. As hard as Jack tried, he couldn't keep his expression stone-faced. He was just about to open his mouth and lie when Lenny interrupted him. "Stand up." Jack hesitated. "I said stand up," Lenny ordered. Jack stood up, but he looked straight ahead at the side of the gazebo instead of at Lenny. "Look at me," Lenny ordered. Jack grit his jaw and looked into Lenny's eyes. "Now listen to me. If you lie to me and I find out, you're gonna wish that you never stepped foot in this house. But if you tell the truth, I will give you a merciful death instead of hours of torture. You got me?" Lenny forcefully shook his finger at Jack as he spoke. The look in his eyes was so full of anger that he looked like a fiend. Jack swayed back and almost lost his balance. He steadied himself and looked at Lenny again. Sweat started to form at the back of his neck. He was very disappointed in himself. He had been an agent since his mid-20s, and he had been in many dangerous situations before. He had been called out numerous times, but he had never caved in or blew his cover before. Lenny was a violent man who viewed the violence that he did as something natural. Lenny looked at Jack's eyes. He knew that he had broken him. "Now I'm going to ask you one more time. Are you a federal agent?" Jack looked into Lenny's eyes and nodded his head. Lenny felt relieved that he was right about his suspicions, and he was relieved that Jack told him the truth, but he was also angry. He decided to control his anger. He leaned forward. He was 2 inches taller than Jack. "Are you a dirty Fed?" Lenny asked. Jack could not hide his look of surprise. He wanted to say yes in hopes that it would help him, and that Lenny might possibly accept him if he did. But it was too late. Lenny had already seen the look on his face. "Well?" Lenny asked. Jack felt relief deep inside. He knew that Lenny must have misread his look. He looked at Lenny. His mind raced. Was Lenny just testing him? He had never heard of Lenny or anyone else in the family torturing anyone, but as far as he knew, no one had ever infiltrated the family either. Lenny looked away from Jack and took out his gun. He shoved it in Jack's face at the midway point of his right cheek near his nose with his left hand. "I'm gonna only ask you one more time," Lenny said in controlled anger. "Are you dirty?" Jack felt so much rage inside from having a gun held to his face that he found it easy to lie. "Yeah, I'm dirty," Jack said with an intentional angry look. Lenny smiled and put his gun away and said, "Good, you work for me now."